ago. So,
welcome everybody to Shut Up and Scribble. This may be the first time we've gone live at exactly the right time. It's just what happens when the cat is away, as they say. Mr. Self is in Italy with his lovely wife, Elizabeth. They are enjoying several different cities, touring, and apparently he's not eating any gelato, which I still want to know if that's true. He's eating probably lots of pasta that does not have enriched bleach flour in it and all the things that make it not clean here in the United States.
I felt bad for him. I feel like it would have been really BA to win today in your apartment, doing that workout in your apartment, only for Tudor to just kind of beat him easily. I was pulling for him. Most of the time I'm pulling for him to get beat, but today I was pulling for him to win and it didn't happen.
So I actually didn't get to watch it. What happened? I was coaching this morning.
You know the workout, yeah?
Yeah, the basically Annie, but drag rope and V-ups.
Yeah, essentially. And Taylor did it in 8:21. Nobody was really close. And then Tudor, Magda came in, and Dallin was there, and James was there, and James's dad was there. And Tudor kind of just beat him fairly easily. But they didn't know what his paces were versus Taylor's paces. So they all thought they were really close. Meanwhile, he's 30 seconds ahead. In the 4-minute mark, he's 30 seconds ahead.
What was it? What was it? I mean, Taylor's incredible at drag rope, which is why I programmed 300 drag rope. And
he V-upped very fast.
He told me what he had access to, and I was like, let's do something high volume, at least high volume enough to where it's not super short, but it's not really, really long. How much faster? So I see in the comments, 7:45. Was that Tudor's time?
Yeah, Taylor was 8:21.
Wow.
So it was kind of, and he made
where did you see the difference? V-up speed?
I did the V-up speed, man. I mean, obviously Tudor is very, very good at drag rope, but so is Taylor.
Right.
So the difference there, I think, would have been negligible. I think Tudor was a little faster, but nothing crazy. And then he just V-upped really, really fast. They both were hurting. Neither one of them went straight through. They both had moments of pause right on the ground.
Yeah.
But even that 7:45 time, Tudor took. I wish he would have drawn it out a little bit longer than he did. But he did 5 of the last 10. And then just paused there, and then did 2, and then paused there, and then did and then finished it out.
Exactly what Taylor would have done.
I was hoping Tudor would have done 9, and then got up, walked to the camera, and then looked at it, and then just did 1, and then been done. But
that's cool, and they'll be competing against each other at NorCal, right?
Yeah, and Tudor was talking smack too. So
good. That's what everyone wants. I think Colton's the first to realize things like that. And then, you have Jason and Dallin's friendly kind of banter back and forth. We all like to hear stuff like that. We love it when those guys kind of call each other out. And Tudor, I've had a couple people drop, buddy. If you want to get in against Colton and Taylor again, I know it's a quick turnaround. Come to Crucible. It'd be cool. I'd love to see I'd love to see all 3 of them compete here too. And just from a nerdy programming standpoint, however they finish up at NorCal, which will have its own flair, which we'll get into with their programming. And then when they come to Crucible, that programming I'm sure will be different. And just to kind of see where they end up. Obviously, P score is a little bit different too than traditional scoring. But again, it's just something that kind of makes Crucible unique. And I'm cool to continue to do it and make Tyler kind of sweat out every year if he's going to be able to crunch the numbers, you know what I mean?
In time, it's how everybody wants it. What's going on, right? It's close enough too. It doesn't make that much of a difference. I mean, Colton won 4 of the last. He won 4 in a row. The last 4 in a row last year, and Hatfield still beat him in regular scoring and P score, even though Colton looked like he dominated, right? So it's not as different as I think people think.
Last year's Crucible programming was so specific. Like every test was very, very specifically testing something. And I mean, when you use a lot of old CrossFit Games workouts, a lot of times with the best in the world, that's what you have to do, because it's really more about seeing if someone has a hole than it is just seeing who's the best at fitness sometimes. And I acknowledge that for sure. Like on the women's side, it was extremely gymnastics bias last year, after seeing it all play out, after looking at the P score, after seeing the margins on like the pegboard and the handstand walk workout versus like the thruster and the flip sled workout. When you're doing something like P score, when you have outliers, I mean, it really affects everyone's scores. So it's cool that you don't really know what's going to happen, but in some ways it's not as cool, because I think the argument for a lot of people with P score is that, hey, if I'm watching a final event and I don't know who's going to win, if I can just look and say, does John beat JR? If he does, then John wins, and you don't really know. Yeah, that kind of makes it tough. But
I would argue that's the only drawback, though, is you don't know what you have to do to beat somebody. Hopefully Tyler can get advanced enough where he can be like, you need to beat him by 15 seconds. Like, you know what I mean?
When there was a lot of pressure put on him last year with a back-to-back finale. There is no back-to-back finale this year. So going into the final event, he'll, heat to heat, which will be heats of 6 people, he'll have a good idea going into like the last 2 heats. Hey, could anyone possibly in like a 5th place position, could they just destroy this workout and jump these guys, like stuff like that. So yeah. So getting into NorCal Classic, I apologize that I don't have the technological savvy to pull up this Instagram post. But if you go to their Instagram post, I'm going to let John kind of describe it. But they post a teaser today. I was kind of wondering when they would put out any full events, so that maybe we'd have something to talk about on this show for the next couple of weeks. So at least we got something.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't. All we know is you have to do this complex, and then it's max. And I'll say the complex after this, and then it's max kip ups. That's what we're referring it to.
Drop kips, I think.
Drop kips.
I think that's what they're called. Drop kips. Yeah.
Okay, and so the complex is a toe to bar, a pull up, a chest to bar, a bar muscle up, a pull over, and then a reverse pull over. Rollover. I don't know if that has a term, but
I think you could just say like it's basically a bet. Whoa.
What?
Dad's here.
Is this Will?
No, it's not Will. NorCal Classic equipment list: running and lifting shoes, grips, swimwear goggles, a jump rope, gloves, sunglasses, brightly colored swim cap, no white, and an optional life jacket. So that's the equipment list for the NorCal Classic. John, continue with your gymnastics complex.
Means we're swimming. And then after that complex, it's max amount of drop kips, which is like if you're on top of the pull-up bar, your feet you come underneath the pull-up bar and come right back up. And I think the standard is your feet have to be above the bar, and then you go right back. Is that correct? Sound correct, JR?
Sounds correct. Yeah. It looks like the arms extended at the bottom.
Right.
With no requirement to have the feet at any height. It looks like
I think their feet have to be above the bar.
You think they have to be above?
Yeah. Well, you watch this girl. She's trying very hard to keep her feet above the bar. I've watched everybody do this complex, and it's feet above the bar every time. Yeah. So you get the rollover.
So you have like the pullover, and then you have
the reverse pullover,
and you have a front roll to support,
and then we have our drop kips. You see feet, you see toes above the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And see, like it's a diligent effort to keep those toes above the bar, because you have to keep that's the only way they could standardize it.
Hey, but she didn't start that at a minute, dude. She wasn't on the bar for a minute before these started.
She started that at 45 seconds, but it's counting down, right? I think it's going to be max amount in a minute, and then you have a minute to rest. So see, it was 48 seconds. Like she could be on her 4th round and just didn't go at the minute mark.
That's true. What I think it could be, though, is some sort of ascending ladder where it's just the drop kips that ascend. So you have 1 1 1 1 1, and then you have 1 1 1 1 2, and then you have 1 1 1 1 3. So she's coming down after the drop kips and just jumping back up
until you can't do them anymore,
or until a certain number. So like, let's just say you had to do 10 rounds of the complex. So you would do a total of 55 drop kips, but you would only do 10 of every other movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Regardless what it is, it's who's the best at drop kipping.
Yeah, I don't know.
Complex.
And when I saw it, I was kind of hoping it was just a big troll. Like I was hoping they were just messing with everyone and they would just see all that. Like I already saw Caroline Prevost post the complex and doing it. I mean, I don't know. You see a lot of comments like Travis here says, welcome to Grid League. Like there's going to be a lot of people that think stuff like that after they see this complex. And yeah, I mean, it's something that I know me and Taylor have talked about a lot. It's something I know I've asked Sevon because I think Tony Budding was the one that branched that off. Like, hey, are there movements in grid? For instance, a pistol box jump or a pistol jump over a PVC or a back roll to support, where just because Tony brought that stuff to grid, Dave will never do. Like he has no interest in ever doing that stuff, even if he wanted to, because he's never going to be someone that says, oh yeah, they just copied grid.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see the toe to bar butterfly.
Like the double touch or the triple touch.
Yes. I don't think we'll ever see that. I don't think we'll I guess nobody's tried to do the butterfly muscle up. Is it against the rules to do that?
I know if we had Tyler on the show, he would be of it because if it's just hanging and then support position, what does it matter how you're getting there?
Do you know if it's against the rules to do a butterfly muscle up the way they do them?
I think that it is against the rule.
Okay, yeah. What's the standard?
I think you have to change directions at the bottom of the rep is maybe how they. Now I don't ever see it written in the standards, but
I don't either. Is why I'm asking.
They just kind of say, hey, a traditional muscle up is the only thing that you can do, strict or kipping. So,
I mean, technically, the way we do muscle ups, it's not a traditional muscle up either.
Sure. Yeah. 3-day competition, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got it here on the screen. Those of you that are listening and not watching, 7:30 to 8. So an early day on Friday. Maybe that swim is the first thing they do. If they
long day on Friday.
Yeah. Saturday 8 to 6, and then Sunday 8 to 5. So yeah, I'd be interested to know. I think
events
last year, I believe they had 10 or 12. There were a lot of scored events, and I know Dave was involved in the programming last year, which was cool too. So they did like a 800-meter run. They had very classic, simple grassroots CrossFit workouts, but they also had some stuff like they had bar pullovers last year. They had a backwards handstand walk last year. They had a lot of things that I think are a little bit
off the wall.
Yeah, I think some competitions, I mean, I know I am when I program stuff. I'm all about taking a couple risks and having it just be something that gets made fun of, if that's the case. I mean, how do you progress things forward if you're not going to do stuff like that every now and then? And there's nothing wrong with just keeping it classic. But there are some stuff, too, that I think you can play with. There's a comment right here. They did a double broad jump. I think they had a broad jump for distance in the qualifier. And a lot of us have talked about, will we ever see a burpee broad jump, or is that just a high rocks movement? Where are you on stuff like that?
I think we can see a burpee broad jump. I don't think and I know like if Rogue programs something like we probably won't see it at the games. Like Dave's against like log muscle ups or something like that. We like stuff like that. We're like, well, that's probably not going to be in the games. And I think nothing is off limits. I think whatever you see in a competition, you're like, oh, I really liked what that looked like. I like the stimulus of that tested. I've never thought of that. And then you can put it, why should that be off limits? I think we should test fitness in every single aspect and every single way you can possibly imagine. And then I would like to stay away from gimmicky, right? Like that would be my only caveat.
Where's the line for you? Because there is a line somewhere.
I
So
think
when you
double
talk about
crossovers are gimmicky. I think this gymnastics complex is gimmicky. Whenever it's not about fitness and it's like, can you do it? I love workouts that are like, can you do it? Who can do it, right? And who can't do it and who can. But it should be in a fitness environment, not that's it. It's just, can you do it? Like the gymnastics thing, it's just who can do the glide kips. That's it. You know what I mean? For instance, if I'm a gymnast, I'm not, but if I'm a gymnast and I can beat Taylor in this, even though I'm so not as fit as him, I think there should be a 400-meter run into the gym, into that thing. So it is, can you do it? But it's expressed in a fitness kind of a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does for sure.
I'm not a programming guru. I'm not like you. I'm not Chase. I'm not Dave at all. Nor do I claim to be. But I think if you're going to do workouts where it's it could be gimmicky or it's, can you do it? It needs to be expressed in a fitness way. Like it can't just be one thing and then that's it. Like if the first time they did pegboards, the very first time they did pegboards in 2015, there was a whole workout pegboard, a section of it. And if instead of that, it was, hey, 15 pegboards for time, go. And half of the field can't do it.
Right. Yeah. Where it was placed.
I think that's
very
dumb.
Beginning of something is like the place where you put it, basically. And
right.
You put it to where there's still stuff after.
And then whoever can do it, guess what? You get to play. Now it's a workout, and who is the fittest that can do this thing?
Right.
It's not
CrossFit. What about wheelbarrows and sandbags gimmick? I say no.
I love those.
And
I
love
think that.
It's interesting too, though, because not so much functional movement, but when you talk about functional fitness, like doing yard work, a lot of people will say, yeah, I did a bunch of yard work today, and like my whoop was crazy the next day, but I didn't consider that a workout. Because you were just doing work. You were picking stuff up. You were putting it in something. You were carrying it over there. You were unloading it. You were walking back. You were putting more stuff in. You were carrying it back. You were unloading it. And then you have stuff like the GHD med ball toss. I mean, you don't get more OG than that. And they did that at the CrossFit Games. But there's articles and there's posts about, doing stuff like that, throwing specifically, being like a really, really important, facet of producing power. You look at the javelin, you look at the shot put, and that's when I think the lines get blurred. Like, what do we see at Rogue where we just say, oh, yeah, that looks like Highlands Games type stuff. But then you cross over a line that says, no, they already do that at the Olympics. Why are we doing a hammer throw? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Stuff like that is cool. Mason Mitchell ring handstand push-ups. For me, this is one of the things I wish that they would never do, but I found a really, really old interview that Dave did about programming, and he talks about like the levels of certain movements. And he says, you have a handstand push-up with a wall supported. You have a handstand push-up without a wall, so freestanding. And then like the highest level of the handstand push-up would be doing them on a ring apparatus, on the high rings.
I've skipped that middle section then because I can do the last one and I can't do the middle one.
And I'm saying doing it on the rings without wrapping your feet around the straps.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
like that would be the highest level, the hierarchy of the movement.
Listen, and you take something like what Mason just said, like the ring handstand push-up. I'm not against that. It just can't be ruined by judging. That workout was, I thought, really cool, but ruined by the judges because like some judges would allow everything and some judges were looking for your legs to never bend at all. Right. In 2016, whenever they did the ring muscle up squat burpee workout. Right. And like, I think Cole Sager won that.
Right.
And if you just let them go, like we all know what, and just let them go with no judging at all. Like for squatting depth, sure. But like for the ring handstand push-ups, get up, do it however you can. But you have to you got to touch rings to shoulder and you got to be extended. Like whole body has to be extended. But you can do, after that, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that was one of the movements that, I mean, you could go back and watch the footage of like Matt doing a rep, getting it counted, doing another rep, and then the next rep was a no rep. And it was like, right. Why? It's the same thing.
That's the only thing I thought was wrong. I don't think the movement was wrong itself.
Sure. Justin Zazumbo. JR, how do you think they'll work the gymnastics complex into a test? I've got 15 plus athletes that'll be competing at the NCC. That's really cool that you have that many people. John, you go first, and I'll tell you how I think they're going to work that in. If that, what we watched, is actually going to be in a scored event, how do you think it's going to be presented?
I think it's going to be just that, and that's it, which I'm not a fan of. But I think it's going to be 1 minute max kip ups, which so you do the whole complex. Complex is a buy-in, and then you have kip ups after it. 1 minute max kip ups, rest 1 minute, 1 minute max kip ups, and they just do that 5 times. And then you're going to have the winner will have 30, right? And then it'll just go down like that. And then tiebreaker will be how many kip ups you did in the first minute. Maybe the time goes more, goes less, or however you want. But I think they're going to have a work on, rest, and then it's just who has the most kip ups at the end of the rounds.
So you just do that buy-in. Let's say what, 5 rounds of 1 minute on, 1 minute off, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the score is max drop kips at the end.
Yeah, and maybe they go 2-2-3. Maybe they work at a 2-2-3 interval thing and then it's or 50 kip ups for time, and
sure.
they
every time you come off, you have to buy in with the complex.
Yes, and then you have a 2-2-3 interval style. I could see that as well.
That'd be cool. I think if I had to guess, I would hope that it's one of 3 single modality tests that are all worth 33.3 points. So kind of how they did a skills type thing back in the day. So maybe they do a gymnastic, maybe they do a weightlifting complex for total load, and then they do something with a machine or a run, and then they do the gymnastics. So it's it's a 1 part of a 3-part scored event that's all a little bit niche in what it's testing, and then you're adding all 3 of those together to get a score for 100 points.
I'd be a fan of that too, or even 50 points a piece.
Yeah, I think that would be fine too, especially if it was if you did which I think would look cool if you did kind of a longer barbell complex with many different movements. Let's say you did a barbell complex and then the last movement was shoulder to overhead, and you just had to go and get max reps with 225 or something. And then you rested and you turn around into this gymnastics complex.
5-minute rest
with
the gymnastics.
The so that would be into the run. How many total movements is it counting the drop kip? Did you count the movement?
It's toe to bar, pull up, chest to bar muscle up, roll over, reverse roll over,
front roll to support. Yeah.
And then kip up.
So 8.
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha. So yeah, it didn't you probably remember this. I don't know, maybe before your time. I want to say Comp Train had a really, really, really long complex at one time. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Yeah. Was it Comp Train that put that out?
It's called the Beast Builder.
Okay. That'd be cool to pull up.
Hold on. So who's running the back end? I've done this really when they came out with it. It was when I first was into CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I got a video of me doing it at 225, and it was everything I had.
You can just hold it up to the screen then. If you
will it work like that?
But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about is if you had a 8 movement barbell complex with max reps at the end of it for just 1 attempt, and then maybe they did the same thing. But I don't know, man. Here's the thing for me, from a programming standpoint. All right, here we go. Hang, squat, clean. This is it. Yeah, this is that complex. After we watch it, we're going to read it out for everyone that's listening, really annoyed right now because they can't see what's going on the screen. This is a video of John doing a really, really long complex that I think was made popular by Comp Train back in the day. And I want to say you just do it for load, right?
Yeah.
It's just who can do it with the. It's a ton of squat cleans.
It's just holding on to it.
Right.
The grip is everything.
Yeah.
This was back when I wasn't super strong.
Yeah. We've seen people do bear complexes before in competitions for load. Questionable dropping it on your back stuff like that, going to the back rack position. All right, the complex is over, John.
So
read out what it is.
Yeah, high hang squat clean. So I guess that would be kind of hard to judge, but I would just say bar cannot move from deadlift position. Like the top of the thigh, bar cannot move after that. Plus hang squat clean plus squat clean 3 times over.
Okay. Yeah, so that one actually doesn't have a ton of different. Like if you did deadlift, hang power clean, shoulder to overhead, squat clean.
Guys, this was 5 years ago. Okay. I had just discovered CrossFit. I didn't even know what I was doing. Okay. I'm pretty sure I could not run a mile at that time. So calm down. I'll do that with 3:15 today just to make everybody feel bad. Okay. Leave me alone.
This is an interesting idea.
That's a workout Taylor wouldn't beat me at. Fun fact. You want to talk about that?
Could you see them scoring it like toes to bar is a point, pull up is 2, chest to bar is 3, bar muscle up is 4, back roll is 5, forward roll is 6, kip up is 7. But it got to be unbroken complexes, but the first moves count. So basically assigning an amount of points to each one. Maybe
I mean, that's just if they can't do it, right?
Yeah. That way, if you can't do one of the ones along the way, you can't get the big. You can't get the 3-pointers. You can only get free throws, basically. It's like a basketball analogy with it.
Right.
What I was going to say earlier about from a programming standpoint, if the only thing that matters in the complex are the drop kips, you have used 3 really, really, really common hanging gymnastics movements in one event that don't really matter. So what are you going to do the rest of the competition? Climb the rope and that's it? Do stuff on the rings and that's it?
I think you can still have a toe to bar event.
But that's just what I'm saying. Like if you're not wanting to repeat any of these movements, you're using toes to bar, regular pull up, chest to bar pull up, and bar muscle up.
I think you just know that you're going to. You just accept that you're going to repeat.
Yeah.
This is what it is. Ring muscle ups.
Yeah.
Like you said, anything with the rope, ring muscle ups. Maybe you have a sled pull, which I know is like weightlifting, but it's still some sort of pulling.
Yeah, and that again, like we don't have any information at all. It's just a teaser. So who knows how many events they're going to do? Who knows how that one is going to be incorporated into an event? How they're going to score it? How many more events they're going to be? All that kind of stuff. But when I see something like this, like my mind immediately goes to what balances it out. So is there going to be just a single modality monostructural event? Is there going to be one with weightlifting?
You can pull up Mike's comment. Pull boy.
Look at last year's NorCal Classic workouts. They limit themselves highly by having so many divisions and only one stage with a rig. They never program more than one event with gymnastics.
So that makes me think.
So I remember, and Mike can correct me. I remember some of the ones from last year. I remember the reverse Fran, and I want to say maybe 115, or maybe originally it was 95, and they went up to 115. I remember the pullover workout, and then I remember the Russian kettlebell swing rope climb workout. So I guess those are the 3 hanging / pulling movements that I remember. But that is an interesting point. If they only have one rig and they have a ton of divisions, how many events are they going to have with hanging gymnastics?
2.
Yeah, maybe so. How is I saw a post. You selling a lot of JY barbell shirts?
Yeah, a decent amount. I don't know really how many. My wife knows, but
that's cool.
They're still at my house, so I still.
Who does like the business plan type stuff for JY barbell? Is that you and your wife? Or?
How do you mean?
Well, if you have a business, but you don't have a plan, you're just planning to fail, right? If that's you and that's the case, you need to reach out to Corey Polito. Proven business plans right down
right there.
Here. A lot of us own businesses. A lot of us have no idea how to progress them. We have no idea how to tier cost options, like anywhere from, hey, you buy this JY Barbell shirt, this is the exclusive one. It's going to cost you $32. This other one's going to cost you $25. We all want our businesses to grow, but we really don't know how to sometimes get them off the ground or keep them up with the times, as there's always competitive businesses in the space. Reach out to Corey, Proven Business Plans. He'll hook you up. Whatever you need. I know I need to reach out to him. He's reached out to me specifically and just said, hey, dude, what's some things that crash that you want to have improved upon? And it could be anything. And it's not really something I think about. Shows you how good of a business owner I am.
Yeah, I need to reach out to him too, because I just buy way too many shirts and then just wait till I sell them all and then buy way too many shirts.
That sounds exactly like what I do with my shout out Vindicate. Yeah, he's very happy to have someone that makes poor decisions like that. Who will be at Crash Crucible, by the way. Travis will be here in the house, as well as Gabe from Paper Street Coffee. Yeah, we'll have a lot of people in the house hanging out. This is cool.
I'll also be there.
John Young will also be there doing the broadcast live with Bill Grunler.
And I'll bring all of my JY Barbell shirts.
John will do his best to steer people away from Travis's tent and to just sell his own, peddle his own goods like only you would imagine John Young doing. Shout out to another sponsor, one of the originals, HGR CBD Athletics. If Carl, I apologize if I had any sort of idea what I'm doing on the back end, I would play Taylor's commercial, but we've got a lot of good feedback from all of his products. The stuff really does work. I know Taylor's been training really, really hard. Big proponent of his stuff. His knee's been great. State Farm, Patrick Mitrovich, recent sponsor of Kill Taylor. Another one who's kind of was the pioneer as far as supporting the show. South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, basically anywhere in the Southeast. If you need any kind of insurance, hit them up. Okay, what else? I posted on the Shut Up and Scribble story, again, because I don't really know how to engage with the audience. I just posted a simple question. I don't know if you saw it or not. It was like, how many people should program the CrossFit Games? How many people should program it? And if so, how many? And kind of how should it go? And a lot of people, it seemed like it's a topic that a lot of people feel strongly about. Some people just said Dave Castro, period. Some people said a committee. Some people said 2 to 3 people max. So where do you that's a hot topic right now. You know, what's going to happen next year? And if the programmer changes, who should it change to? And what's the right way to do it? We've only ever known one way. We've known that
that's fair. That's a good point.
We've known Dave does it with feedback, and then we know that Boz did it with feedback. And Boz was pretty adamant about saying, hey, there's been a lot more collaboration over the years than people think. And then even he said when he programmed it, hey, me and the team, he would say that a lot. Hey, me and the team, I would give them ideas. They would push back. I would send them something. They would send back, this is what we see that could go wrong with it. So apparently there's always been a head programmer with a kind of team that has, provided whatever kind of feedback, criticism.
I'd like to be a part of this team.
That would be a
I want to know the names of this team, and then how do you get on the team? Can you imagine? So like I'm just thinking. So like what if it was Boz and Dave? They both work together. If we don't think we can do it with Dave because Dave has an ego, then Boz and somebody else, 2 people. Okay. I personally think it should be 2 to 3 people, but like they're all on the same sphere of equality, I guess you could say. Like neither one is like, I'm the head guy. You know what I mean? Like we're all on the same team. We're trying to get the best product out there. It's not like one overwhelming the other. And we don't know. We don't know at all. But, Dave does have the persona. Like if it's him and Boz working together, we all kind of think it's Dave still running the show. Do we not? You know what I'm saying.
I think a lot of people do think that. I'm probably one of the, I don't know. I'm probably one of the more optimistic people out there that say, hey, like if it's collaborative, then it's collaborative. If it's not collaborative, they would just say, hey, no, I do everything that I want to do. And no matter who pushes back, I don't change anything. I would love to know, and this is kind of getting into the weeds, but like Boz said the first year before the games, he's like, hey, there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to that like I've wanted to do for years, but it just hasn't really worked out with the programming.
Which means
like,
Dave said just no.
Like, well, how many years do you think he was like, hey, dude, P-bars, come on, stay with me. P-bars. They were in the first CrossFit gym. You could use them for this. You could use them for this. You could use them for this. There's this Elizabeth workout that I want to do that like, I mean, how long do you think maybe he was like, Dave, P-bars, I'm telling you, like, how long do you think that happened? Like before he just got his chance to do what he wanted to do, or if it was just something that came to him a month before.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I would love to know stuff like that.
Yeah. He needs to come out with a memoir and just spill everything that has ever happened, everything that's ever happened with making the CrossFit Games and programming, and just let us know the insight. I
mean, that'd be cool if both of them
Sure.
went on and was like, hey, chaos, the idea for chaos. How long did I tell you we should do this? And you were like, no, we can't do it. We can't do it.
Right.
Like, stuff like that would be really cool. I mean, Dave, if you want to write a second book and put all that stuff in the book, do it. I know I'll buy it. Geeks like me will buy it. For sure.
I would say 2 to 3. I'm not going to, I don't care who, but like 2 to 3. And then no team. It's just those 2 to 3 guys. And then but like a serious combined effort where like if one of the guys is like, no, I want to do this, like this is going to be great, just please trust me on it, then the other guy's like, all right, I'm going to let everybody know this was your event, right? So that way it's okay. Like then if his event is the Capitol, then yeah, Boz did the Capitol, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if his event is the double crossover event, then Dave has free leeway. Just how we like get on each other. You know, when I said I think 300 reps will happen in the first quarterfinal workout, and everybody's like, "You're retarded." I was retarded, right. But like just like that, when double crossover workout comes out, Dave can go like, "See, I told you, Adrian, that was retarded," right? And like, but it's transparent.
That would be, and that would be really cool. Like imagine me and Taylor program a competition together. Mm-hmm. And we're there watching it. We're not involved with running it. We're just there watching it. And before the event, Taylor's like, I told JR this was going to be a bad idea. And I'm just really hoping that I was wrong. And then, you know, something doesn't pan out. And he's like, I told you. And he looks over and like people could actually see that initial reaction to it, or maybe the embarrassment on my end to be like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. I think people want to know who programs competitions, but what they don't get a lot of times is what thought went into that. And then after the fact, do they regret doing what they did?
Yeah, either the satisfaction or the regret. Can you imagine if, for instance, Elizabeth elevated and then you have Pat Vellner have his gymnastics moment, right? And then the whole crowd is celebrating. And then you get a picture you get Sevon over there with his camera, and he's showing Boz just looking at Dave like, I told you. Like just talking trash to each other almost. Like it's a team, but it's transparent. It's like how you would do with your boys, you know?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good point from Larry. Do you not think if it's always the same person, their biases will always show up, so the same people can win? I think a lot of people would just blindly say, the fittest is going to win anyway. But we've talked about before,
we've been bailed out.
It's not all about who wins. It is about, I mean, there are a lot of people whose jobs are to fitness race. So who finishes in the top 10 and what that top 10 is dramatically affected by the programming, for sure. And I think we've talked about it. We've beat it to death. I don't think we need to anymore, but this year is a like pretty clear product of that. Like we know it wasn't the full test that we got to see everyone do, but we've broken it down and we kind of know where it looked like it lended its hand to people of specific skill sets. So yeah, I think it really does matter. Maybe not who wins always, or maybe who even gets the podium just because they're the best, but who is in that top 10 right under that top 3, it definitely matters.
For the record, I'm not saying like it has to be Dave and Boz. I would just say 2 to 3 people, but with that transparent lens. And then if it is just one person who has a team, I would like to be on the team.
Yeah.
I think there's no reason you should not be on the team. There's no reason like there are.
I think there's lots of people out there that can write good workouts. Like as a blanket statement, I think there are a lot of people. Wait a minute.
We just had this games. So
there's a lot of people.
All of those people are terrible. Then
there's a lot of people out there that can write good workouts. That doesn't mean that they can put 10 or 12 of them together and then say, "Yep, this is going to show who the fittest on earth is." That's a really important distinction because there's a lot of I look at it way more than I'm sure I should, but there are a lot of people out there that write cool workouts, and there are a lot of people that I would say are good programmers. Programming for someone to get better is one thing. Programming for a gym is a completely different skill. Programming for a competitive general blog program is a different skill. Programming for a competition is a different skill. Programming for a high-level competition is a different skill in that because it does programming a beginners or like older masters level competition is completely different than programming for CrossFit Games athletes. So I think a lot of times when someone says that, oh yeah, they're a really good programmer. Oh yeah, they're a terrible programmer. Like it depends on what they're doing and what the goal of it is supposed to be. And programming for the CrossFit Games is serious and it is important. Where I kind of fall on it, and I asked a couple people this question. Do you think the people who are on this team should know who the other people are? Because I don't. I think best case scenario would be, a few people. I would say 5 at the absolute most, but probably more like 3. But you don't know who they are. So when we communicate, I don't know that I'm telling John Young his crossover double under workout is dumb.
It's trash.
And he and I don't know that he thinks that I program too much squatting. Because what I think would happen if you have people that know each other, that are friends, or that even are like, hey, I respect that person, you probably aren't going to be as honest and critical as you would be with someone you have no relationship with at all. You're just saying, I'm looking at these combinations of movements and numbers on a sheet of paper, and I have no idea who wrote them. But programmer A sent them to me and told me to pick them apart, so that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you probably couldn't do it, but I think doing it in an anonymous way where even you don't even know until, hey, after the games, these were the people that programmed it, and like, that's not, that would never happen. But
why could that not happen?
I don't think it could ever happen.
Why? Because people get their feelings hurt? Because programmer C is the worst programmer I've ever seen, and that was Castro?
Yeah, I think I guess you could do it, especially if that's their sole job and responsibility day in and day out, is like, my only job is programming the CrossFit Games season.
I got a question for you. Do you think it's the same team 2015 through 2018 as it was in 2024?
I think there are some people that have been on like the programming side, and you could just say people that are in the know or just like consulted with, just say consultants from within CrossFit or within the CrossFit Games that have been consistent for a really long time.
I don't see how that's possible when you have this year compared to the years of old.
So when do you think it stopped? This year?
I mean, I think Boz had a different team than Dave did. And like, I think 2015 through 2018, we could really throw 2014 if we're just talking programming. 2013 through 2018, I think were the greatest CrossFit program games years. 2013 through 2018, all of them. And they all had their biases. 2015 was a beat down. Like, it was probably too much of a beat down, right? But if you look at
Murph, heavy DT, and squat clean pyramid in the same day.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, maybe outside of day one with the crit marathon row total, maybe outside of that day, probably the hardest CrossFit
I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that day than 2015. I think the first day of 2018 would have less effect on my body, even with the marathon row, than 2015. That day of 2015, that squat, clean, pyramid, Murph, and heavy DT. Those 3 workouts in that one day, I think I'm rocked for a week. Like, I think I'm done. But if you look at the whole programming as a total, like you were saying before, as far as like, is it a balanced test? Did this find the fittest person? On like through the top 10, even I would say yes. Like, yes, some years are more of a beatdown than others. Some years are more squatting than others. 2018 was more pulling than others, but it wasn't like to an egregious level, and it tested everything. There was everything that you could test. It was tested in some way or fashion. And 2024, in my opinion, was the worst programmed CrossFit Games for the level of competitor of all time. 2007 was a balanced test. It's 3 events. Nobody knows what they're doing, but it was a balanced test. 2008, probably the second worst. 2009, it was just kind of like killing everybody. You know, but as you agree or disagree, for the level of competitor where we are at in our fitness, right? As a sport, was 2024.
Do I have to assume that nothing was modified? So that
you could throw Amanda and the sledgehammer in
the 10 that they did.
No. With Amanda and the sledgehammer.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is the 10 that they did were not altered at all. I can just assume that.
If they were, it makes it worse because they should have been altered more.
Yeah, I think it was clearly biased just to monostructure. I think that's the easiest way that I can say it. Like, I don't need to get super.
But out of every single year there's been.
I would have to go back and look. I don't.
Off the top of your head.
I think it's just a recency bias thing.
Okay.
If I say this is the most, this is the most
Hey,
unbalanced. I think
I don't
we're
have a recency
all
bias,
kind of prisoners
JR.
of the moment.
I remember every year. Every year. It's not. Go research. Go do research.
I bet if maybe we can do that. We'll go back and look at each year and just say, hey, this was more upper body press dominant than 2024 was aerobic dominant. Like,
so I've had this argument with Barkley, and I 100% every different years have different biases. There's never been a more biased one than this year. And what I'm saying is, if there was a team, then that team is not great. If it went through 10 people, I'm all good with, like, Dave just kind of had a bad year. It was kind of an off year. It was not great, right? I'm fine with saying that. But if it went through 10 people, then they were all signed off on this is a great balance test. That's a problem. I really do. I think that's a problem.
I see what you're saying. So if there was a team that was consulted with closely, and it wasn't just like, hey, here's my plan, like, let me know if there's anything you see on here from a flow standpoint. I don't want to know what you think from a programming standpoint. Then you don't think that team really did their job. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's like already it's not the best day of programming for Dave. And like, I know when people go like, oh, we need to fire Dave. I'm not saying that. He did 2017 too. He did 2018. He did all the years that we think are great. He programmed those years too. So I just think it was a bad programming year for him. But if it went to 10 people, that's bad.
Right. Yeah. If you ask like a lot of the really, really high level competitors who are around some of those 15, 16 years, they're all pretty consistent in saying, like, generally the programming has been really good. And yeah, there were some, like, every year is hard, but like, you know, he's got an over 90% track record of doing a really good job. There were some misses. There were some individual events that didn't really maybe work out the way that he wanted them to, but that's going to happen if you program for that many years. What I always said about Boz is that I kind of wish we would have gotten like 6 or 8 years because I know that the stuff early on with Dave, the lessons he learned, there was no point of comparison. So people just were like, the stake into the ground with the rower was kind of weird because you don't know if you got soft ground or not soft ground, you know? And then it was like, okay, well, maybe I should come up with something like the banger that we can use that is a hammer.
I think let's just leave the sledgehammer out of it.
Sure. But I'm using that as an example where it's like, there was some the learning curve there was a lot more, maybe not, it wasn't as steep and it wasn't as noticeable from a spectator standpoint. There weren't people that consider themselves CrossFit nerds back then to pick it apart, because
No.
Dave was by far he was just as knowledgeable or more knowledgeable than everyone else. So it's like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, cool. Yeah, these are cool workouts, without being able to look at it and say, but are they really cool? Because 3 out of the whatever have this movement pattern. And like, you know, we all kind of pick it apart. But I wish we would have gotten 4 or 5 or 6 years from Boz and then look at it and say, oh yeah, well, there were a few events here and there that maybe there were a reach. But really, if you look over the years, it's been whatever. You know,
Right.
I think 1 or 2 years of anyone doing anything, like the first 2 years at Crucible, if you just look at two competitions, then you draw all sorts of conclusions. But you get to the 5th year, or the 6th year, the 7th year, then you can say, hey, there are some themes here. There are some things that JR likes to program. But then, you know what? This year they did all this stuff and you didn't see it again for 3 more years, because that's where we're at with Dave. Like pegboard, 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 and then it goes away. Or, you know, thick rope, where did it go? And then years later it comes back, and then years later we're still waiting for it to come back. You know, so there's some of that kind of stuff that I think we don't get. But I think a lot of people are clamoring for a change, even when it comes to the programming. And it'll be interesting to see if that happens. And if it does, is it one person or is it like by committee? So
which would you rather?
I'd rather it be a group of people and no one know.
I'm so clean sweep.
Oh, if it had to change. I don't know if the programming itself. I mean, I think best case scenario, Dave would still program it, but like he would have a few people that are what you're describing, that are people really, really intelligent and good, that will not back down because they don't have that loyalty and relationship with him, to say, hey, dude, you have no single leg movement at all.
Mm-hmm.
You need to put lunges or step ups in.
Mm-hmm. Remember last year, Dave?
And you just continue to say, no. There's too much pulling. There's not enough pressing. Or you need to say, hey, you have nothing but light squatting. Where's the heavy squatting? Hey, you have nothing but heavy hinging. Where's the light hinging? I think you need that. And you need to have someone that can say, no, here's the data. If you want it to be biased, go for it. But if you're telling me your goal is the complete test, then listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that might just be wishful thinking.
You know? I don't think there's going to be people that are going to say that to him.
But I don't know Dave at all. I mean, I've been around him that one time at semifinals.
He doesn't know me.
I don't think if you presented him with, you know, really simple, concrete, like, here are the facts, that he would just say, whatever, I don't care what you think, you're wrong. But maybe so.
Bro, I think you.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone's going to have their biases, and it's a whole different conversation, but people are okay. People are okay with Rogue, Wodapalooza, Dubai, Beach Brawl, Crash Crucible,
as they should be.
Games. They're okay with them being like golf tournaments. Like, hey, you know, when you go to Crucible, you're probably going to have to do more high skill stuff. You know, when you go to Rogue, you're probably going to have a strongman feel. People are so cool with that, but then they're not cool with it at the games.
I don't think they should be.
Yeah,
it's the Super Bowl.
I don't think you're ever. I think you're always going to be able to find a bias somewhere, is what I'm saying.
I think it's okay to have a bias, but like, it should still be there should be nobody that is saying this person won because of this bias. Like, if it's biased enough where somebody's like, you think this person won because of this bias, then it was a failure on your part. That's what I believe. Now this person could get third place because of the bias, sure. But if somebody won, if the unanimous thought is somebody won because of the bias of the programming, I think it's a failure on your part. Now, if there were two more squatting events, and then you had Amanda and James still won, then guess what? I'm going to say James is going to be top 5 next year and not think anything of it because James improved that much. But we didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? You almost take away from those people.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation all the way around.
But you see what I'm saying? I would love if who's to say James wouldn't still win? But we don't know. We don't know, and he probably wouldn't. But we can't that's the problem we have now. And I think if that is the case, you've failed as a programmer. And what's funny is imagine if Tia wasn't there, then Gabby Magawa is the fittest woman in the world. We're thinking the same thing. I know it's a little bit different with the women, but I honestly think she still would have been second had all the women participated because of what the events were.
Right.
Even if Laura was there, I'm telling the people right now, this would have been Laura's worst CrossFit Games. Her worst one. Yeah, I think she'd be 6th place in this CrossFit Games. You think about every event, she is so good because she's got 6 or 7 events where nobody can touch her. Not even Tia. Nobody can touch her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's got 6 or 7 events where she's 10th place, right? Still good. Let's say 5th through 10th, right? Still good, still great, but there are women better. Every single event except the clean ladder would have been a 5th or 10th place. She's not touching Gabby because Gabby runs better.
I think she would have done great on Chad. You don't think so?
Laura on Chad? Chad's a toss-up. I don't know. It's hard to say. Would you have said Austin would have done great on Chad?
I think Laura would have done great on the last 2.
I don't think she would have been. I don't think she's winning. I don't think she's top 3 in the last 2. I think she would have been good, but I don't think she's top 3. I think.
Yeah. What really does suck is that we'll never know.
Right.
So it's tough.
It does.
But hey, here's something interesting. Are athletes, their coaches, and pundits going to think Rogue means more in 2024 than the CrossFit Games?
They shouldn't.
I said, will they? Is Rogue going to be people's CrossFit Games this year? Not just for bragging rights, but just for being able to just compare the competition.
That guy's the best.
I just think it's something that's coming, and people aren't. We're gonna get there, and people are gonna say, this whole field did it. And
okay. So, as far as pundits go, are we putting ourselves in that?
Yeah, I would say we're at best we're pundits. Sure.
Okay. At worst, what are we?
Chumps. Nobodies.
Okay. I would say it's not going to affect me at all.
You're just gonna say that box is the Games box, this box is Rogue, and I don't even.
I already have my thoughts on the Games next year, and then that will be influenced by semifinals. It'll be influenced by Rogue a little bit, but I already know. I know where I'm gonna put James at. Pretty much, I know where I'm gonna put Dallin at. Where I'm gonna put Hopper at. That would influence it a lot, Jacob. That's a great question. If James won Rogue, then that would influence me a lot. But it would take something like that to influence me, honestly.
It would influence you, but it would have to influence you with the programming you want to see at Rogue. That's the thing.
No. I know what I'm going to get at Rogue, though.
But you think you thought you knew what you're going to get at the Games.
All right, if Rogue turns into High Rocks 2.0 as well, then my stance will change to what it is now.
if someone would have came to you and said James Sprague is going to win the CrossFit Games, your response would have been the programming will have to be blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So you would say the same thing if someone says, "What if James went rogue?" You wouldn't just say James has the fitness. You would just say, "Well, it wouldn't be what we're typically used to at Rogue."
I that's exactly what I would say. But then honestly though, if he just, if he wins the games and he wins Rogue, then maybe I need to check my bias because like it's hard to say anything against that. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't pick him to win the game still in 2025, but I bet you I put him on the podium just because, bro, like nobody's beating him. You know what I mean? If he were to do that, regardless of the programming, I'd be like, I think Rogue is more impossible than the games for somebody like James.
Obviously I'm always excited about the next competition. But I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff they do with a new venue. We know it's indoors. There'll be plenty of time to talk about stuff like that.
I'll be interested to see how the venue affects the events.
Rogue buys CrossFit, Spieler and Bridges program the games. A lot of people wouldn't mind Rogue buying CrossFit at all.
I don't think they're going to though.
So
they would have already. They could have already.
Speaking of OGs like Spieler and Bridges, Pat Barber, the Manimal, owner of The Knowledge, right here in the middle at the bottom of the screen, recent sponsor of the show. He's got like a coaches type deal where he's actually working with Taylor specifically to help Taylor try to get his level 4, which is a really, really cool credential that Taylor's going after, for all the stuff that Taylor says, for all the things that he might not say. No one loves CrossFit more than that dude. And he's really passionate about his coaching. Not only like in-person coaching at CrossFit Charlotte, but also like coaching remotely. So Pat's helping him out. He's now supporting the show. So if you are a coach and you have aspirations of, just being better at your daily, like running a class of 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, reach out to Pat with The Knowledge. And then lastly, Brooks Manley Marketing. This guy's like an search optimization wizard, web design. I need to do that right there at the bottom. You can hit him up on Instagram. You can look him up online. Taylor speaks really, really highly of his knowledge, and just like getting all things your business more professional. When anyone punches in CrossFit, when anyone punches in fitness, obviously, if they're in the Spartanburg area, I want them to come across Crash first. And that's the kind of stuff Brooks does to make sure that you are optimizing your business online.
Dude, we had Pat Barber on.
Did you?
The live show, when we were at the games.
Oh, okay.
And he was on during the swim event, and I felt so bad for him. Like it was.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and like we're like, hey, we need you to go because we think something serious has happened. And there was a very like awkward 5 minutes with him on the show.
Sure.
And then we never talked to him again. So I was like, poor Pat.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I remember Taylor was supposed to go on Best Hour of Their Day podcast. I think that
day.
Yeah, that day.
Yeah,
it was just like, hey, I guess it's not happening anymore. So, no, it's been cool, dude. Thanks. Hour show. Taylor's going to give me crap because I never stay on for an hour. And he's going to be like, what happens? John comes on and you don't want to get off, but you always tell me at 40 minutes you have to go pick up your kid. My wife picks up my kid on Fridays. Shout out to Rebecca. And yeah, thanks for jumping on, dude.
Yeah,
no problem. Sentinel training, John, if you could. Sentinel training, if you could point. There we go. Free trial, you can scan that QR code. Master's programming, 60-minute track, competitor track. Really, really good bang for your buck. Crash Crucible is happening October 11th through the 13th. like I mentioned earlier, John and Bill will be live doing commentary. Will set up the stream. Hopefully Souza will be here, just running off of nothing but chocolate cake, just in every lane, cameras in people's faces. Really, really excited about it. HWPO is the title sponsor. So, I mean, we're increasing prize purse this year. We're doing money for event wins for not only individuals, but also masters.
Colton's about to mop up. That's what he saw that. He was like, let's go.
Doing a Go Wad recovery zone, which will be only accessible for like athletes and media. So right after they get done, they'll kind of go into a little private space where only the athletes can access it for, like, you know, bike ergs, cool downs, Dahmer mats, rollouts, stuff like that, cold plunges, that kind of thing. So really excited about it. It'll be here before you know it.
I think me and Hopper are supposed to do like a makeshift high rocks at Crash.
I've not been told any of this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not an event or anything. We're just gonna one morning before the show or whatever.
You can literally do the exact same workout. We've done it before.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make out 1,000 meters, and then that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Comment. Is that what I'm supposed to tell people to do? Like and subscribe to the 7 podcast.
Mm-hmm.